Hey guys, I want to talk to you about my favorite term in all of real estate investing. In fact, I use this, one of my very first deals, I use this term to buy more and more deals. In fact, that's also how I grow and scale my business. The term is BRRRR Strategy. Now, back in 2007, I started this strategy. I bought my first property. I want to talk to you a little bit about how I did this and give you a little story. So let's take a way back machine and look at 2007. When I first started investing in 2006 and 2007, the economy was really just roaring. It's going up and up and up. Prices were going really high. And in California was where I was living. Now, as I was living in California, I realized, man, I can't buy any properties here. I can't buy a property and make cash flow, passive income every single month. I can't do that because the prices are so high and the rents are so low. I would buy a house for $300,000, maybe rent it for like $1,300. Definitely would not work. And so I realized I could not buy here. So I started looking all over the country instead of just California. I settled in Ohio. I started buying up properties in Ohio. But let me take you the process of doing the BRRRR strategy back in 2006 and 2007. So when I first got married, I did not have any money saved up. I was literally never taught to save money, but I was super blessed. My wife is frugal, as well as she was taught to save. And so she had about $10,000, maybe $11,000 saved up. Now, at the exact time that we got married, I was reading a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If you watch all my videos, if you listen to my podcast, you'll know that I love Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I even did a review of the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book, and I should put that in the description as well so you can see that as well. Give you all the reviews and the walkthroughs and exactly everything that I took out of that book. But I read that book. And after reading that book, I turned to my wife. I think we've been married like 3 or 4 months. Said, hey, babe, I really want to invest in real estate. And I want to take every penny that you had when we got married and all the money we've been trying to save to buy our first property. Now, it took a lot of convincing. Eventually, she came around and said yes. Now, from that, I said, you know what? I need to buy a property. But we only had like $12,000. So I kept saving money and kept saving money over and over again. And then eventually we had like $17,000. Like that's what we had. I thought, I need to be able to do it. Like I want to do it now so I can start making passive income and start saving more money. And so I was looking all over the country. I found that Ohio was a decent place where I can buy a property for a relatively low price and still make passive income or make good passive income on these properties. Now, in the place that I started investing, it's not a place that I would actually personally live, but a lot of people live. I'm a West Coast person, so I love the West Coast, I love snow skiing. In fact, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the line right here, dark up here, light down here. The reason why is because I went skiing 3 days in a row in Heavenly on a Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, which not many people can do that because I'm successfully unemployed. I was able to do that wearing my goggles and I got the tan line. Now, I love snow, but I don't want to live in the snow. I live in Phoenix now. That's where it's sun all the time. I love it here. And I realized that there are people that want to live there in Ohio, that do live there, that love living there, and I could buy a property for literally $17,000. So here's what happened. I found this place in Ohio. I literally flew out to Ohio and found a property manager, found a realtor, looked at properties, did all this sort of stuff. Now, I will tell you, I don't do these things now. In fact, all the students that I teach, I teach them, you don't have to do that. There's so many ways to do this business rather than flying out there, but you need to build the business. Get in that whole bunch later. That's a whole nother topic. Now, what I did was I found the property manager, I found the realtor, I found the property. Out of the 30 plus properties, the first property that I ever bought is the only one that I ever saw. And so all the other ones I never seen. And so the first property, I bought that property for $17,000. Now, this is a really economically depressed property area as well. And so not a lot. Think of like Detroit in 2009 where nobody wanted, like they couldn't give away homes. This was the type of property. Now, I'm not saying that I would invest there personally now. It was a good starter place. Now, what I did was I took $17,000 and put it towards this property, bought the property. It started cash flowing all the time, like every single month, over and over again, kept cash flowing. And it was fantastic getting $350, $400 every single month from this property. Now, what I decided to do was, you know what? I could leverage this property, or I can take money out of this property, however much money I have in with the appraised value, take that money out and then buy another property. Because I didn't, it was going to take me at least like maybe 5 months, 6 months to get like $2,000 or $3,000 saved up, and maybe like 3 years to have another $17,000 saved up. And I thought, you know what? I need to leverage other people's money. OPM, other people's money. I love using that. And so what I did was I did the BRRRR strategy. Now, add the masterpassiveincome.com and my Master Passive Income podcast, where I talk about all this on my YouTube channel. Everything I talk about rental properties, and I help people to quit their job by investing in rental properties so they never ever have to work a job again. And as I was building my business, I realized there's a way to scale if I use other people's money. And that's what I teach, is how to use other people's money. So what I did was the first of the BRRRR strategy. The first one is you buy the property. Now, I was blessed to have money to buy the property outright. You don't have to use all your money to buy a house for cash and literally have no mortgage in order to do the BRRRR strategy. There's a lot of R's in there. You don't have to do that, but a great way is when you have cash. So what I did was I bought the property. So number one, you buy the property. That's the first. That's the B. Then you rehab the property. So when you rehab the property, you fix it up. Now, you don't want to do something where you're overly fixing up. Like if every single property inside the area of the house that you're buying, if it does not have granite countertops and every other property does not have granite countertops, if you put granite into the house, it might make it more appealing, but you're not going to get that much more rent out of it. You might get an extra $25 because they say, ooh, I like the granite, but it's not a huge selling point. You want to make it comparable to the other properties. In fact, just a tad more. This is my business model. Some people might be completely disagreeing, say, no, make it the top notch, put in an extra $50,000 in the house and make it the best house. Well, for me, this is a business. I want to make sure the money that I put in is going to be making money coming back out and be a good return on my investment. So what I do is I rely on my property managers. I'm going to strongly suggest that if and when you invest out of state, rely on your property managers. If they say it should have granite countertops, this will make it get top dollar and it's worthwhile and you get a good return, then go ahead. But the biggest thing is you want to make it rent ready. You want to make it have the ability for somebody to say, you know what, I like this property. I'm not deterred or I'm not turned away by this property because it's so ugly, it's so disheveled, all that sort of stuff. It's a good property. And so from that good property, you're going to say, you know what, tenant, go ahead and move in. So remember, it's buy and then you rehab. You get it rent ready and then you get it rented. So you make sure that you get the property rented. You start making passive income where you're making a minimum of $250 every single month, where that $250 comes in your pocket every single month. You want to make sure that you buy it, then you rehab it, then you rent it out. Once you have it rented, you're making money. You know your business model is working. Your property manager is doing well. And at the same time, hopefully, like if you listen to all my other videos and podcast episodes and everything else about how I teach how to do this, you're having other people like realtors, wholesalers, investors, everybody trying to give you properties or sell you properties so that you can buy it and then rent those out. There are so many properties out there. All you need to do is have people bring you deals, which is what I teach. This is what I do. I just wake up in the morning and I open up my email, drink my coffee, and I look at all the wholesalers and all the realtors, all their emails. And I'm like, okay, I don't like this property. Oh, hey, this one looks pretty good. Let me go ahead and analyze that one even further. So I have people bringing me deals. And so once I have it rented, I'm continually looking for the next property. After a little bit of time, I then go to a mortgage broker and then I refinance the property. I don't necessarily do, which is fine, you can do this, get a home equity line of credit. That is a fantastic way to pull the money out, is a home equity line of credit, where it's basically like a credit card. Instead of doing a cash out refinance, it's basically like a credit card. If you rack up debt, you can pay it down and you pay less in interest. So you could actually get it down to zero, not be borrowing anything, not be paying any interest, and you can always tap into that like a credit card, which is a great option. What I personally prefer is a cash out refinance. I get 30-year mortgages, I get better interest rates and all that sort of stuff. And as I refinance the property, and the key is getting a good mortgage broker. When you get a good mortgage broker, they're going to be able to go to and shop around to many banks, many institutions that are going to find you a good rate of, interest rate, good terms, as well as try to give you the most money. Some banks will give you 75%. Actually, the majority will give you 75% of the after repair value. So basically, after you fix it up, they get an appraiser out there and they appraise the property as it sits. And they will give you 75% of the actual value of the home that the appraiser gave. But here's the catch. 75%, with the catch, I'll give you an example. If you have a house that the value is $100,000, you have a house that was appraised for $100,000, they're only going to give you 75%. You may get some banks that'll give you as high as 80%. I don't think I've ever seen anything over 80%. 75% is like the norm, the average. So if you have a house that's worth $100,000, you may be able to pull out $75,000 in cash, but the catch is it's also including if you have a mortgage on it already. If you paid cash, great. You can pay cash for $100,000, pull out $75,000 and buy another house. You can absolutely do that. I bought a house for $180,000. Actually, no, I talked them down. I think it was about $150,000. $150,000 cash, refinanced it because the property, I bought it so low, got it fixed up. I think it was worth an appraised for like $250,000 or something like that. I pulled out all my money that I put in, and then some. I think it cashed out like $200,000 total, got all that money back in my pocket and bought more properties. And so you got to realize that if you have a mortgage on the property, let's say it's worth $100,000, you can pull out $75,000, but let's say you owe $70,000 on a mortgage. Well, that's technically you can only pull out $75,000. $70,000 goes to the bank that you currently have a mortgage with, and $5,000 goes to you. But there's also, in fact, literally just today, one of my emails from one of my students was asking about this, and if it's the right time to refinance. I was running through all the numbers, and I said, you got to remember closing costs. With a mortgage, if you're getting a full mortgage, a refinance, cash out refinance, you're probably going to have close to $2,000, maybe $2,500 in closing costs. So if you're going to be pulling out $5,000 and paying $2,500 to get that, you're going to be pocketing $2,500. It's not a good deal if that's all you're pulling out is $2,500. That's not enough. You want to save that equity. You want to save all that. Now, a home equity line of credit could be a fantastic option instead, because they'll still give you the $75,000, but you won't have the closing costs. You have that revolving credit. As as the mortgage balance goes down, you have more credit, all that good stuff. So that could be another great option. But let's get back to refinancing the property. If you're going to do cash out refinance, which is what I've always done, the reason why I love doing the cash out refinance is because it's a fixed cost, it's a fixed interest, and it's a fixed loan. And I love having fixed expenses, knowing what's going to happen before I actually do anything. So with all those fixed expenses, I know how much money is going to come out of my pocket with this new loan. Let me give you some actually, I'll give you a more specific example. I had one property. I bought it, I owned it, and I had maybe $160,000 left on it. Well, I refinanced it, and it was worth like $300,000. And so I pulled out, I think, $250,000 total, somewhere around there. So at about $70,000, I was able to cash out. Oh, here's a huge pro tip or huge amazing thing that most people won't think of. This is not something that can be taxed. This is a loan. This is not income. So when I pulled out $75,000 from this property, I was not taxed. It's not looked at as income because it's debt. And even though it's looked at it from the IRS as debt, I use that money to buy more properties. So when I pulled that $75,000 out, of course, I'm going to have an increase in mortgage. The mortgage is going to go up. I was paying like maybe $1,200 initially, maybe a little less, $1,100. Well, with the increase of $350 for that new $75,000 in extra debt. So basically, getting that loan, pulling out $75,000, I had to pay $350 more a month for that $75,000. But what's great is I already knew with my $75,000, with my business model, I can buy maybe 4 properties with this money and pocket about $1,200 from these 4 properties. So if I buy one property, that takes care of the entire increase in mortgage. The entire increase in mortgage of $350, buy one property, which I think I spent like $20,000 on this first property. I did that, and then I still have $50,000 or $55,000 to play with because the increase in mortgage was taken care of from that first property. So I took that extra $55,000. I think I bought 3 more properties with those, spread it out over 3 different properties. And I think I was making, so the first property took care of the mortgage, the increase in mortgage. The other 3 properties, I think, were making me about $350, maybe $400 a month. That's $1,200 in passive income every single month from getting this home equity line of credit, getting this cash out refinance. You could also use the home equity line of credit. So that is the refinance portion of it. So remember, it's buy, rehab, rent out the property. So you're already making passive income. Then you refinance the property, pull all that cash out, and then you repeat the process. You do it all over again from step 1. So let's say, going back to my example of me buying that, it was a $150,000 house. It appraised for $250,000 and it worked out really, really well in my favor. Well, I pulled out the $75,000. I then was able to refinance and pull it out again and do it over and over again and refinance. So every single property that I bought, as soon as I was able to refinance, pull cash out, and buy the next one, I was able to do that. Now, the best one that I've ever done is I literally bought it for cash, and then I pulled out all the cash. I think it was like $180,000 in cash. Pulled out all the $180,000 in cash. On top of that, I think I pulled out another $30,000 in cash on top of that. And the mortgage and payments from the first property, this property I just mentioned, I was making $250 or $300 or more on that one property. But then I had all that extra cash. I went and bought more properties. I bought more and more and more properties. I've recycled my money so many times that now I have 30 plus properties that I literally don't have to work and I make money all the time. But I was so also very, very blessed to now I've paid off many, many mortgages, and most of those, I literally don't have a mortgage on most of those properties. I think I only have like 3 or 4 mortgages because I've rolled my money over and over again. And that's what's great about rental properties and passive income. It is basically a snowball. If you imagine a snowball, you bundle a ball of snow and you're on top of a hill, and it's a really steep hill, but you throw it down the hill. And as it keeps going down the hill, it rolls and grabs more snow. And it grabs more snow and it gets bigger, it gets heavier, it goes faster and rolls faster and grabs more snow. That is what the passive income is like. It's like a snowball that at the end, once it's going down the hill for so far, it's so huge you can't stop the money coming in. And that's the exact same thing that passive income in rental property is. So remember, the whole process is you buy, you rehab, you rent out the property, you refinance it, and then you do it all over again. Now, again, I will say that this is more of an advanced strategy because, if you buy something for cash, it's because you have a lot of cash laying around. But like I said, you absolutely can use this process with a mortgage. Let's say you have $15,000 to buy a property. You buy a house with $15,000 down payment. Well, you refinance it. Well, after you pay down the $15,000 down payment, you get it rehabbed and you get it fixed up, you get it rented out. Well, after 6 months, maybe a year, year and a half, the property might have appreciated. You might have been able to pay down some of the debt. And who knows, you might have even done something that after a little while, you'll go and get a refinance. The bank comes around and says, hey, you fixed up the roof or the kitchen or whatever it might be. It's worth more now. And so the value gets appreciated. So even though you still have a mortgage, didn't buy it cash, you can absolutely refinance the property, pull that cash out, and on top of that, pulling that cash out, buy more properties to make you more money. That's something that I absolutely love. I've done that so many times, I can't even count. And that's something that I teach all of my students how to do that. And I want to show you how to do that as well. I want you to text the word rental, RENTAL, to 33777, rental to 3377. Or if you want to, just check the description. I have a link to get my free real estate investing course. That's if you text the word rental to 33777, or you go to my link, I'm going to give you my free real estate investing course. And the link is masterpassiveincome.com/free course. /free course. And I will literally give you a free course that's going to walk you through how to analyze deals, how to find properties, how to find a new area of the country to invest, how to make sure you got the right property managers, the questions to ask, all that great stuff, because I want you to get started and you can go down this path of the BRRRR method. I think I got that many R's. So it's a buy, then you rehab, then you rent, then you refinance, and then you repeat that process over and over again, and you will be able to scale your business so quickly and so easily. And by the time you're done, you're going to realize, I have so many properties, I literally don't need to work my JOB, my just over broke job. Now, if you take this tactic and you say, you know what, in my business, I want to do the BRRRR strategy. You also need to be aware that there's risk obviously involved in getting loans, and make sure your risk tolerance can tolerate getting that risk, because like I said, this is a little more of an advanced strategy, but at the same time, everybody can do it. I teach my students this all the time. I walk them through the process. I say, okay, this is what you're doing. Let's get this next money out so we can buy another property. Eventually, over time, you're absolutely going to have a fantastic business, many, many properties, and literally never have to work a job again. So you guys are fantastic. I really, really appreciate you being here with me. Again, my name's Dustin Heiner with Master Passive Income. Get my free course. I want you to get started. Go to masterpassiveincome.com/free course. Get my free course. Go ahead and get started. I just want to see you succeed. I'm very, very blessed to never have to work a job again, and I want you to do that as well. All right, guys, you take care of yourselves. I'll talk to you next time.